who were there when we had our ashram at B10/8, and we sat in front of this altar for years, meditating. These were the pictures that we looked at, and this was this little bust, Murti and Master we had there. And, it just has wonderful memories, wonderful vibrations. If there are questions, I'm happy to try to answer, or you can adjourn, however you would like. So I feel like I've already spoken quite a bit, but if there's anything else, I'm happy to try to answer.
In the early years of Ananda, there was a lot of enthusiastic people, but unexperienced in the spiritual life. So, what do you think it was that really changed people from being interested and enthusiastic about it to actually doing it? What was that environment like?
Well, in the beginning, Swamiji was the magnet, of course, Master through Swamiji. And when I came there, I had been already studying some of the SRF lessons, and I knew the techniques, but I wasn't really getting very far. And someone told me about Swamiji, and I went there and I saw Jayaji and Jyotish and Devi, various ones, and then I met Swamiji. And Swamiji said to me, "This is your home, why don't you think about living here?" And I had no thought of living there, but I could see what he was doing. Master was in him, and he was drawing people to Master. He wasn't drawing them to himself. And so in those times, Vijay came before I did, but I came in the late 70s and started living there in Ananda in San Francisco in 1980. And what I remember is, no one really knew much but Swamiji. And Swamiji talked to us about our gurus, and all we knew was what was an autobiography of a yogi, but he had lived with Master for 3.5 years. He told story after story about Master. Swamiji had, of course he had a harmonium there, but he also had a big tanpura, and he would play, he composed and he played Indian songs, and people were just enthralled. He would visit India, he would come back with slides of India and people here and where our masters lived, and I think it was, I know in my case, and most people I knew, we stayed because of Swamiji. We trusted Swamiji. He was very learned, he was very wise, but more than that, he had this deep attunement with Master. And he never tried to draw people to himself. He would always talk about Master, and there's many stories about Master. And he started traditions that we still have at the Master's birthdays and Mahasamadhis. He started those in SRF OXS. But he would have us, he awakened the devotion. He would have us come up to the altar on the Master's birthday and offer flowers and Mahasamadhis, and he had these, I was saying earlier, spiritual renewal weeks, and we would be just sitting there with, he would give every class at that point. On any topic, he spoke on the topics, and I remember maybe some people understood everything, I certainly didn't. It was a lot of things. He could talk for 2 hours solid, just as, beautiful talks, stories, examples, points on every part of the path, and you could only take in so much. But what he was doing was drawing us in through seva. He had us serving, drawing us in through chanting, drawing us in through devotion, drawing people in through satsang. He wrote music, he had 400 pieces of music. You've heard many of the pieces. So he had people singing the music in the choir. He had people serving right off. And people left, people came and went, but there were people who it was their own. I mean, where would you go? And I was one of the first African American people at Ananda, and so I didn't come because I felt that comfortable. I came here and I saw these yogis, and people had long hair then. Swamiji had, basically wore a dhoti, many times no shirt, and the long hair and the long beard and the glasses. And I just was, I didn't know what to think. And then I met the people who were there, and even though we outwardly weren't alike, I felt this was my family. How can you put it? Your own or your own. And it had nothing to do with background, or it had to do with spiritual bonds that we had from past lives. And obviously we've all had that bond with Master and the Gurus and the Swamiji, and I felt at home there. And so I think the people who stayed, for one, they were busy. For two, they were learning the techniques properly and doing them. And three, the biggest thing was there was a big magnet of Swamiji there. And people think that he was, well, I can say this, he never really counseled me very much. I mean, it was more general. He was giving classes, he was keeping people doing seva and various things, but I can think of all the years since I've been at Ananda. Of all those years, Swamiji may have spoken to me personally a total out of, almost 40 years from when I started on the path, almost. But he may have spoken to me personally and given me personal guidance a total of maybe 1 hour. I mean, in 5 minutes here, 2 minutes there, 3 minutes, maybe. And I would venture to say it was less. So it wasn't that he was personally, pulling you in and helping you and all that. There were a lot of people there. I mean, and there were people, as I said, coming and going, but he couldn't personalize, be personal with everybody. And I lived mostly away from Ananda Village. Swamiji was at Ananda Village. I lived in Palo Alto, I lived in San Francisco, and I went off to Italy within the first 3 years. I started serving over there. And so you had to be inwardly, you had to get, and not be, you had to get inwardly in tune. And if you did, then I think you stayed, for the most part. If you didn't, I think I remember I left for a while. I left for 3 years because I just, can we turn the fan on maybe? It's a little warm. But I left because I just was, I felt, I was very independent. I wanted to have my own way. I didn't want anybody telling me what to do, and I didn't know who this man was, Swamiji, and then one day I just decided I just had enough. And it was early on in the path, and I didn't tell anybody. I got in my car, I drove off, I went back to Los Angeles. And those were pretty much almost the hardest years of my life. But, after that period, I kept my kriyas going, but I was barely there. And then I could feel inwardly Master saying, just go back to Ananda. It's okay, you don't have to live there, just go. And I went, and everybody remembered me. And right after, I moved into an Ananda house, and I think it was Palo Alto at the time. And it wasn't like you're just sitting at the feet of the Guru the whole time. You had to get an inner attunement of your own. And even when I was in Italy, I went early on, the beginning years, and there wasn't, Swamiji, he didn't want to tell people. You had to get your own will and your own attunement. And I asked him when he left there, I said, well, what should we do here? This was the beginning of the work in Europe. And he said, tune in and pray to Divine Mother and Master, and you'll know what to do. And not that he wasn't with us, but he didn't give you X, Y, Z, you must do this. He wanted people to grow on their own, to gain their own attunement, to use their willpower. I was about 28 at the time, but I realized how out of tune I was. And I started chanting. Chanting really helped. I upped my kriyas. I energized every day, from then onwards. I started studying the teachings. And so these are the things I think that's why those of us who were there, were put in that situation, so that we could really grow. And I can say the 7 years I was there, I grew quickly, because I had to, and I wanted to. So I think people stayed because Swamiji was there, also was there to have the bond with him, also they had the good karma to serve Master's work. In my life, I thought, well, what's better than this? What am I going to do? I tried going back home. It didn't work. So I came back. And I realized that was my home and that was my family. And I never left after that. So anyway, that tells you a little bit of the beginning years of Ananda. Yes.
Can you just tell that story? First time you saw Swamiji in the park, I think I heard from you.
Acha. The man who was meditating?
Yes.
Yeah, that wasn't Swamiji, that was another fellow.
Okay.
So I was fresh out of college, and I was wondering, what to do with my life, and I was 21 years old, and I had a good life. It wasn't. I didn't come out of poverty. I came out of a good life, but I didn't have any direction, and so I prayed, I remember deeply one night, for help. And I prayed, if there's a God, I need help. And I want to know you, or something like that. And then the next day, now, in our... In our family, we grew up with the Baptist church. So from the time I was small all the way, we were in church. So at a certain point we rebelled. So I wasn't particularly religious, but my mother told me, she said, you were always very quiet. You would go away from the family and sit by yourself, and you didn't like the foods we ate, and these are signs that you've been on the path before. And so I at a certain point, I prayed deeply, and I was asking for help. Now, I didn't know anything about India or gurus or none of this. And the very next day, it was one of the greatest things that happened in my life. I went to a store to buy some things for the kids. I was working in social services, and so I was buying things for the kids, and there was a book there at the checkout counter that said meditation. And I remember there's something it was like, get that book, just buy it. So I bought it, and I was at my lunchtime sitting in the park, and I was reading that, and I could feel there was something about meditation, but as I say, I never heard this word before. It was a book on transcendental meditation, by the way. And so as I was sitting there having my lunch and reading, I looked just down from where I was, like maybe between here and the end of the block, but nothing in between. And lo and behold, there was somebody sitting there meditating. And, on a park bench. I was sitting on a bench, and this fellow was there. And I just couldn't believe it. I just kept looking at this, and I looked over, and I could tell I wasn't sleeping because the head wasn't nodding. It was just like the meditation posture. And I went over as fast as I could, and I said, I've always been enthusiastic, so I said, what are you doing? And I'll never forget the man. He opened his eyes, he says, I always meditate. I said, I'm just reading about meditation. I really couldn't believe it. So it turned out that he was a teacher of transcendental meditation, and his mother she must have been 80 years old. They were older, and she also taught. So, can you believe what happened? In 1 week, I went to their place. They didn't have a center. They were just had been taught by in the Maharishi Maharsh Yogi school. And there I was with my fruits and my flowers, coming to learn how to meditate within 1 week after that prayer. And then soon after, they gave me Advaita Viva Yogi. And that was all. I think Master was just waiting in the wings, making it all happen. Yes.
I'll ask one question. Our Master was the epitome of true love. That's unconditional love. And one of the aspects of true love or unconditional love, as I understand, is forgiveness. To be able to forgive someone who's done any harm to you. What was our Master's view or thoughts about forgiveness?
Okay. Well, I mean, you could say it was a Premavatar, but Swamiji defined it differently. Master was a bliss avatar. That he, like Larry Mahashaya, was an avatar, a yoga avatar. But, and Jnana avatar was Swami Shirteswarji. Swamiji, he wrote, I don't know where I can tell you to look for it, but he called Master more bliss avatar. But as far as forgiveness, he spoke on that, certainly. But forgiveness really comes from changing of consciousness. It doesn't come from, I have to do it, and so I'm going to do it, and so you do it, but you really don't feel it. It should be something that comes from your own meditation, it's from going within, from your prayer. I remember a time when I was going through a struggle with someone that I can dream of forgiving them. I just was like, how is that possible? And I tried everything I could. I did. Korea, I was serving, I was with the company, I was studying, I was doing everything. And no didn't. And I remember I went to Swamiji and I said, Swamiji, I'm trying everything, but I'm not getting anywhere. And I said, I'm trying to forgive, but I can't do it. And he said, I'll tell you what he said. He said, when I was asked to leave SRF by SS, he said, all I ever felt for those people was love. And I said, Swamiji, that had to have been a grace, because how could you have felt that? And he said, you're right, it was the grace of Master. And then he told me, don't worry, things will work out fine. And I just kept wondering how. It's impossible. I'm just so upset. It's not possible for me to let it go. But the very next day, something happened. In the morning when I woke up, my consciousness had been changed. Now I haven't seen many times like that in my own life. It's usually a long time, but this was like immediate, and I could feel that it wasn't completely gone, but it was mostly. The karma. I think the karma had been shifted, and I went to Swamiji that day and I said, I don't know what happened, but I feel completely different. And he just said, that's good. And that's made me realize that forgiveness and these kind of things, that they come from our consciousness being uplifted, and mainly I think it comes from the grace of God. And I remember when I was in a situation where, we go in many situations with people that, this person said this and that. I remember being right in a situation with the person who I just decided I could forgive. And suddenly I was just pushed right up. I could feel Master's, and I'm just going, no. But if you really ask for God's help, sometimes you just get pushed over. and I was there, and suddenly it was all just sort of orchestrated, and it was happening, and the karma was over. That took 5 minutes, and I felt it's over. And when I left there, because Master could work through me because I was open enough, I would say that was the thing. I felt I could just levitate. I felt so light afterwards. But
So it's true that when you forgive someone, the person who benefits more is the person who forgives.
you,
Yes.
absolutely.
Because you
I mean,
get-
they may or they may not, but you definitely benefit.
Exactly, because a person may not deserve that kind of forgiveness from you, but you certainly deserve your peace.
Who cares? That's
You
their
deserve
karma. Yeah, you can't fix them.
Exactly.
So do what you can do to yourself. Yeah. And so, and this karma, I mean, we've brought it on ourselves from past lives. It wasn't a mistake. That it landed up on you. So it's something you have to deal with. And but if you go in the right way, what I've seen is the karma, it comes and it goes more quickly. Instead of you can dwell in it, you can go into it for a long time, you can, lifetimes, let's face it. We go through lifetimes with the same things, and this is one reason you want to at least try to forgive people. Do you want to come back with them again? No way! So remember Swamiji said there was one man that I can't remember all the details, but he said finally, he just said he just forgave the man. And he said when he did that, he said he felt the karma was cut. So, in any situation, it could be relatives, it could be people who betrayed you, I mean, it happens. But you might have betrayed them last life. We can't get up on a high horse thinking of, why did it happen to me? Well, it happened for a reason. And you have to clear that out. And so, don't become a victim that, grow up, and deal with the things that come to you. And if you really pray to God and gurus, I mean, really, the thing I feel is they're taking care of so much of the karma you'll never even see. You have the 25%, they have 75%. And they're shoveling back there with the backhoe or whatever, we're trying to get it cleared up, and we're saying, why did this happen to me? Well, you know why. It's your own karma. So deal with it and don't create a whole lot more, is what I want to say. I mean, we're trying to get free. And right attitude is the most important thing. And I also think, you can feel in this room, satsang. The more you're with people with high vibrations, high consciousness, the more you won't be pulled down to doing things that you don't feel to do. So come to the satsangs, I hope you have long meditations here, get in the choir if you can, come to the book study nights. And we're blessed with having these centers. And look at all the people walking the streets there. We're just as lost as ever. And we have our gurus brought us here and laid it out. They've given us guru vibes, they've given us centers, they've given us, who knows, hundreds of books to read and all the music and all the techniques. How many techniques does a person need? It's all there. So we just have to keep putting out the energy. Master said God will never let you down as long as you keep trying. In whatever it is, just keep trying to let go of things and it'll work out. So, anyone else? Yes, Dr.
Just some light on how service helps in achieving to
What help?
or service, doing service.
Acha.
What are the various ways we can
Yes. Service gets you out of the thought of yourself and into the thought of God. And what I'm realizing more and more now is that when you serve, these masters' energy is flowing through you if you attune to them. If you're serving in the way you're thinking of God and Guru, their energy is flowing through you. And what is that energy? It's high energy, it's magnetic, it's purifying, it's blessed, it's grace, it's cleansing. So as you open yourself up, Master said, to be in tune with me, serve my work. And also the channel is blessed by what flows through it. So if you open yourself as a channel, then their energy is flowing through and cleansing you. And I think one of the main difficulties in life is everybody's, they're thinking of themselves, and Seva gets you out of that. It gives you more energy, of course. I mean, you all know you're in the Healing Prayer Sangha, and some of you are teaching, and some are in the choir, and various things. Everybody here should have some way to serve. If you haven't found a way, talk with the other people here. You could be praying for people, or coming and setting up the chairs, help with the altar. We have to give back. You can't just come and, what about me, taking, you have to give back. And remember the story of Swamiji when Master told him, everybody who's at the Satsang, the service over there, he said, shake hands with them for me as they come out of it. So Master gave the Satsang, he had Swamiji standing at the door shaking hands. And so Swamiji, the first time he shook the hands and shaking. He got more and more tired. I mean, there must have been a couple hundred people or something. And then he goes to Master, he says, I can't do that job. Please don't give me that job anymore. It's exhausting. And Master said, that's because you're thinking of yourself. If you think of God, there'll always be a flow. And so he said, okay, so next time, So he gained energy. So you will gain energy. If you do it in the right way, offer it to God and Guru, and you'll find that your energy increases, your clarity increases, your attunement definitely increases. Your open-heartedness increases, your compassion increases. You feel better all over. Otherwise, you have your little life that you're trying to protect, and this is what you do all day. You have to break out of that. Let the masters work on your life. If you help them, I've never found it to fail. I've never found that I felt Master and the Gurus, Babaji. I mean, how can you say, Babaji let me down? I mean, it doesn't sound right. I mean, I couldn't say I've never felt that these masters abandoned me. Maybe I turned away, but I can't remember one time when I was really in need that I didn't. It could have been the 11th hour when I felt there's no help coming, and then suddenly the mind hand. I mean, look at your center here. And we just got our house and center. I mean, these are all Rudy's blessings. Look at Delhi. And everywhere you go, you can just see the Master's hand. So I would, just to get back to that, I would do whatever you can and let them take care of the rest. Serve. Of course, you keep your life as together as you can, but don't overdo it. It's like people just completely, I mean, there's one problem after another. They don't go away. It's health, it's the kids, it's the finances, the car broke down, the washing machine, it just goes on and on. And if we can offer ourselves up, then these things, I mean, everything goes better. And so you have a much more wonderful life if you can say, Master, I came for you. I didn't come for myself. How did you even get here? Where are you going? I don't know. You say, you brought me here. I'm offering myself however I can serve. I'm happy to help your work. And I love the story of Rajarsi Janakananda, Master's foremost disciple. When Master was in India, Rajarsi secretively built this beautiful hermitage along the Pacific Ocean in Encinitas. And Master comes back and they drive over. So dear. Master had seen that place in a vision, but he needed a channel. He couldn't just, maybe he could manifest it, but he didn't want to work that way. What he needed, he would call Dr. Lewis, write him, you must come, you must help, you must help. And Dr. Lewis listen, I got a family here, Master, and you must. And Swamiji said, the more we served our Guru, the more he asked of us. Wow, you would think it'd be the other way. The more he served our Guru, the less he asked. He said, the more we served our Guru, the more. Why? Because there's only a few people willing. You know, he has the same. I mean, look at Swamiji, one person, what he did for his master. Wow. And all the way to the end, you'll remember, he could barely walk. He had to lean on people to stand. He could barely sing the songs that he loved, but he just felt he just kept going. I'm going there. Yes, I'm going. And you could just feel the Master's bliss flowing through him. So this is a good example. I don't think for Ananda people there's going to be much retirement. You know, people waiting to go off to go or something. I mean, I don't, maybe you will have a chance. Vijay's trying, but I don't know if Mr. Group is going to let him go. I think for the most part we're going to go with our boots on, like Master and like Swamiji. And in these days of Swamiji's passing time, we should remember his life more, and play his music and listen to his talks. And I asked him once, some years back, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I said, Swamiji, when you go, will you be able to help us as much as you have already? And this was in a satsang in Gurgaon. And he said something that I've been meditating on it for a while. He said, I really hope so. And I didn't know what that meant at the time, but now of course I know. He's meaning, if I'll be there, but will you be able to be attuned, to hear me, to feel my guidance? So in these days, try to feel Swamiji's guidance with you. Pray to him and ask him to help you and guide your life and guide the work here. And you can certainly feel the Master's vibrations in this temple. It's very deep. You can tell there's a lot of chanting and meditation that happens here. So I think the ultimate thing is just be more in tune. You know, whatever the questions that come up, we just have to work at it. Attunement, it comes and it goes if you don't work on it. If you don't meditate for a month, you're not going to be feeling very well. You're going to be way off. Same with coming here or chanting or spiritual study. And be with other Guru Bhais. I've seen many of you over the years. This is such a wonderful family in Noida. Just very, you can tell, it's just a very devotional, wonderful group. So anyway, it's always a joy to be with you because there's so much sweetness. And I go to America for about 6 weeks, May until half of June. But then we're having a Kriya here on the last Sunday of June. And we'll be having many other things. So anyway, I want to just say what you've done here is really beautiful. Having Vijay Ji here and Mr. Gupta Ji and all of you. I mean, I can see it in your faces that the Master is here. And he's pleased. You can feel it. God bless you.